quick disclaimer. Our content is for informational and educational purpose only, not medical advices. Did you know? Top scientists measured exactly how much progress athletes make after they use EMS, mapping out over 300 single measures across 31 rigorous performance studies to find out exactly who benefits and by how much.
Wow, yeah.
Right. So for anyone who has ever seen, those late night infomercials.
Oh, the belts?
Yes, selling those belts that promise you a six-pack while you literally just eat potato chips on the couch.
Yeah.
The idea that real, actual scientists are measuring electrical muscle stimulation in, elite sports, well, it might sound completely ridiculous to a lot of people.
It sounds like science fiction, honestly. Or just a scam.
Exactly. But we are cutting straight through the gym corridor rumors and all the sales hype today. So welcome to the deep dive. We are going to explore the actual mapped evidence of what happens when real athletes strap into a whole body electromyostimulation suit, or WB-EMS.
Yeah, and it is a field that has, well, it's evolved so far beyond those old infomercial gadgets. I mean, to really understand what is happening on the cutting edge of sports science today, we are relying on this massive 2025 systematic review.
Right.
It was published in the peer-reviewed journal Sports. And the research team, which was led by Svenja Reinhardt and Wolfgang Kemmler, they're out of German institutions like University Hospital Erlangen.
Okay, yeah.
They didn't just run like a single experiment. They mapped the entire scientific landscape.
Wow.
Yeah, they filtered out all the low-quality noise to show us exactly what this technology can, and cannot do.
So, okay, let's unpack this a bit, because I want to start with the physical reality of what these athletes are actually doing. Because I'm looking at my notes here from the methodology, and I see numbers that look like they belong in, I don't know, an electrician manual.
Right. Not a gym routine.
Exactly. Not a gym routine. The protocols mention using, quote, bipolar low-frequency currents with pulse widths of 300 to 400 microseconds running at 80 to 90 hertz.
Yeah, it's a lot of jargon.
It's so much jargon. What does that actually mean for the human being wearing the suit?
Okay, let's break that down into how the body actually experiences it, right? Because it's important. Starting with that 80 to 90 hertz number. So hertz simply means cycles or pulses per second.
Okay.
So the suit is literally sending an electrical impulse into the muscle 80 to 90 times every single second.
Wait, that's faster than the brain would ever normally fire a signal.
Or vastly faster, yeah. When your brain tells your bicep to contract, it sends signals at a rate that allows for a smooth, coordinated movement.
Right, so you don't just jerk your arm around.
Exactly. But at 80 pulses per second, the muscle fibers, they just don't have time to relax between signals. They're forced into what we call the tetanic contraction.
Tetanic contraction?
So
Yeah.
it's basically a continuous maximum state of tension. And that other term you mentioned, bipolar or biphasic.
Yeah.
That just means the electrical current alternates its direction back and forth.
Oh, like alternating current in a wall outlet.
Very similar concept, actually. If you used a direct current, like pushing electricity in only one direction, it would build up an electrical charge on the skin.
Ooh, yikes.
Yeah, it would cause severe chemical burns.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's bad.
Very bad. But by rapidly alternating the current, the suit can push the signal safely through the skin and, deep into the muscle tissue without burning the athlete at all.
Okay, so we have an alternating current safely passing through the skin, firing 80 times a second, forcing the muscle into this state of maximum tension. But the athletes aren't just sitting in a chair letting the suit do the work, are they?
They absolutely are not. And this is really the fundamental difference between those casual gadgets you mentioned earlier and athletic WB-EMS.
Right.
The review focuses heavily on what's called superimposed work.
Superimposed?
Yeah, so the athletes are doing real voluntary physical training. We're talking squats, lunges, dynamic resistance routines.
Wow.
And the electrical current is superimposed or, layered right on top of that physical movement.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I was trying to picture what that must feel like. And the best analogy I could come up with is that it's kind of like trying to conduct a symphony orchestra while running a full-speed sprint.
That's a really good way to look at it.
Because when you move, normally, your brain acts like a conductor, right? Telling specific muscle fibers to fire at specific times to create this smooth movement. But the suit is just hijacking the orchestra and forcing every single instrument to play at maximum volume simultaneously while you are still trying to perform a complex, exhausting physical task.
Yeah, and I would actually take that analogy a step further.
Oh, really?
Yeah, think of the electrical current as a hacker bypassing the brain's natural safety limiters.
A hacker. Okay.
Because your nervous system is incredibly conservative, it naturally holds back muscle fibers in reserve to prevent you from, tearing a tendon or just exhausting yourself too quickly.
Right, self-preservation.
Exactly. The superimposed WB-EMS bypasses that conservative software completely. It forcefully recruits almost the entire muscle mass at once, while the athlete is simultaneously trying to command those same muscles to perform a squat.
Which sounds agonizingly difficult.
Hmm.
I mean, really, why put athletes through this? If a coach wants to exhaust an athlete's muscles and build strength, why go through this crazy high-tech hacking process? Why not just hand them a heavier barbell?
Because of the mechanical toll heavy barbells take on the human frame.
Oh.
Yeah, imagine a semi-professional basketball player in the middle of a really grueling season.
Right.
Their knees, their ankles, their spine, they're already taking a massive pounding from running and jumping on hardwood every single day.
Yeah, game after game.
Right. So if a coach puts, say, 300 pounds on that player's back for heavy squats, the muscles might get stronger, but the joints are being ground down.
Ah, I see. The mechanical strain is just too high during the season.
Precisely. By using superimposed WB-EMS, the athlete only needs to hold a really light weight, or even just their own body weight.
Wow, just body weight.
Yeah. The suit provides the intense muscular exhaustion through electricity rather than gravity.
That is wild.
Right, you get the massive strength stimulus, but you spare the joints, the spine, the connective tissue. And plus, the sessions only last 15 to 25 minutes.
Oh, that's fast.
Usually just 1 to 3 times a week. So you are saving precious time and really preserving the athlete's structural health during a really busy training week.
Okay, so you're basically saving the athlete's knees while still completely exhausting their quads. That makes the motivation crystal clear. I get it now.
Yeah.
So I want to look at the actual data map the researchers built, because they started with almost 5,000 records, 4,914 to be exact, across 5 major scientific databases. And they ruthlessly filtered that down to just 34 rigorous research projects.
Which is a huge cut. And those 34 projects yielded 39 specific studies and 43 papers. They were looking for high-quality, peer-reviewed evidence, basically discarding anything that didn't meet their strict methodological standards.
Yeah, they were not messing around. And one thing that jumped out to me from the geography of the science is that Germany is absolutely dominating this field.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, they had 16 projects, with Spain coming in second at 9. Why is Germany leading the charge so heavily here?
Well, Germany has a very unique, deeply integrated culture of sports science and physical therapy.
Okay.
They tend to be early adopters of biomedical technologies in athletic training,
Mm-hmm.
which really explains why institutions like the University Hospital Erlangen are spearheading these massive systematic reviews.
That makes sense. So let's talk about the demographic, the who in these 34 projects. I noticed the test subjects were mostly healthy adults in their 20s, but breaking down their athletic status was really revealing. So 10 studies looked at hobby sports people, 23 studies looked at advanced sports people, which heavily featured university physical education students.
Right.
And only 6 studies looked at semi-professional and professional team sports, like soccer, softball, or ice hockey.
Which is incredibly important for anyone trying to apply this research to their own life.
Yes, that is exactly what I was thinking, because when I read hobby sports people and physical education students, I realize we are talking about people who work out maybe a few days a week.
Exactly.
We are talking about someone exactly like the person listening to us right now, rather than just Olympic mutants with perfect genetics.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the data is highly applicable to the dedicated amateur. The results we are seeing aren't just isolated to the top 0.1% of human performers.
Which is great news for us mortals.
Absolutely.
So speaking of results, let's get into the what. What actually improves when these athletes use the technology? Because out of the 39 studies, 31 specifically proved performance impacts.
Yes.
And they are testing this tech where speed, spring, and force are the deciding factors.
We can see that clearly in the breakdown, actually. 25 of those studies measured significant improvements in raw strength. 18 measured jumping ability. 10 looked at sprinting.
Okay, wait, I need to pause on jumping and sprinting. Sure. If the athlete is doing squats in the suit, I totally understand getting stronger legs. But why does an electrical pulse make you run faster or jump higher?
That's a great question, and it comes down to how different muscle fibers respond to electricity.
Okay.
We have slow twitch fibers for endurance and fast twitch fibers for explosive movements, like jumping or sprinting. Normally, when you start lifting a weight, your brain operates on something called the size principle.
The size principle.
Yeah, it recruits the small slow twitch fibers first because they are very energy efficient. It only recruits the explosive fast twitch fibers when the load gets incredibly heavy.
So the brain is just trying to save energy.
It's being efficient, exactly. But electrical stimulation reverses that natural order.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because fast twitch muscle fibers have a larger diameter, they actually offer less electrical resistance.
Oh, wow.
So when the WB-EMS suit sends that 85 hertz pulse into the leg, the current hits those large explosive fast twitch fibers first.
Wait. So the electricity works backward. It completely bypasses the endurance fibers and directly targets the explosive fibers.
It preferentially targets them, yes.
Right.
Which is incredibly difficult to do with traditional training unless you are lifting massive weights at high velocities.
Right.
By directly hammering those fast twitch fibers, the athlete develops incredible explosive power, which translates directly into vertical leap and sprint speed.
That is fascinating. The electricity is just taking the path of least resistance, which just happens to be the exact muscle fibers you need for a 40-yard dash.
Precisely.
And that actually explains the most surprising stat in the review, to me at least.
Yeah.
5 of the studies actually looked at sport-specific skills. They weren't just measuring leg presses, they were measuring the speed of a soccer kick or the club head speed of a golf swing.
Because if you give an athlete more fast twitch recruitment in their core and their hips without adding, bulky muscle mass that restricts their movement, their rotational speed is going to skyrocket.
I love seeing how the physiology just translates straight to the golf course, but looking at the demographics again, I do have to point out a gap here.
Okay.
The data relies heavily on those PE students and team sport athletes. If I'm an elite, highly specialized solo athlete, say a competitive marathon runner or, I don't know, an Olympic weightlifter, is there any evidence this works for me?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the systematic review is very transparent about this limitation. Elite strength, endurance, and precision athletes are essentially a blank spot on the map right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the researchers explicitly acknowledge that hyper-specialized solo stars are rarely studied in this context.
So it's not necessarily that the suit wouldn't help a marathon runner, it's just that the science hasn't mapped that territory yet.
Exactly. The evidence strongly supports intermediate to advanced team sports. For the elite specialists, we might extrapolate based on muscle physiology, but from a purely scientific standpoint, we just need more specialized data before making sweeping claims.
Okay, so the map has boundaries. That brings me to something that I couldn't stop thinking about while reading the methodology.
Oh.
We are talking about hacking the nervous system, reversing the natural order of muscle recruitment, and forcing every fast twitch fiber to fire 80 times a second while doing jump squats.
Right.
That sounds like an absolute recipe for tearing a muscle or causing severe nervous system damage. Is this actually safe?
Safety was a primary focus for the researchers, actually. 14 of the studies in the review reported specifically on health and safety checks.
Okay.
And out of all those trials, tracking hundreds of participants over weeks of training, 0 trials described serious harm.
Wait, 0? Not a single torn muscle?
0 severe adverse events. Furthermore, the compliance rates were massive. Where attendance was recorded, it hovered near 100%.
Oh, wow.
Athletes were showing up for every session, which tells us the physical toll was tolerable and it fit seamlessly into their recovery schedules.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, because I hear that, but I have to push back on the safety data.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Because I found something in the review that looked incredibly alarming. Several studies flagged a notable rise in something called creatine kinase in the athlete's blood after the WB-EMS workouts.
Ah, yes.
Now, from what I understand, elevated creatine kinase is a massive red flag for severe muscle damage. Are we sure this technology isn't secretly destroying muscle tissue and just hiding behind short-term studies? Should the listener be worried?
Okay, let's unpack the creatine kinase issue because it is the most common fear surrounding intense electrical stimulation.
Right.
Creatine kinase, or CK, is an enzyme located inside your muscle cells. When a muscle cell is damaged, its membrane becomes leaky and CK spills out into the bloodstream.
And if too much of it spills out, doesn't it cause major organ failure? That's bad.
You are thinking of a dangerous condition called rhabdomyolysis.
Yes, that's it.
If muscle breakdown is catastrophic, It releases so many proteins, specifically one called myoglobin, that they literally clog the filtration system in your kidneys, which can lead to kidney failure. That is a very real, very dangerous medical emergency.
Which sounds like a terrifying risk to take just to jump a little higher.
It would be if the CK levels were reaching pathological ranges. But what the studies actually found was a moderate rise in creatine kinase.
Okay.
And here is the crucial physiological context. A moderate rise in CK is a completely normal response to any strenuous resistance exercise. If you go to the gym today and do a heavy traditional barbell leg day, your CK levels will spike tomorrow.
Really? So the electrical suit isn't causing any more damage than a heavy set of squats?
In a properly supervised, superimposed WB-EMS session, the muscle breakdown is well within the expected healthy range for athletic training. That breakdown is actually the stimulus that tells your body to build the muscle back stronger.
Oh, I see.
It's the mechanism of hypertrophy. The researchers were monitoring CK to ensure it stayed within that normal physiological window, and it did. It's a sign of hard work, not a pathology.
Oh, wow. Okay. That completely changes the context of the blood tests.
Yeah, it sounds scary, but it's normal.
But I do have one more concern about the methodology.
Sure.
The review rated the quality of all these studies using something called the PEDro scale. It's a 10-point scale for clinical rigor. But the highest score any study achieved in this entire review was an 8 out of 10. Why couldn't they find any perfect 10 out of 10 science?
To understand the score, we really have to look at how the PEDro scale was built. It was originally designed to test pharmaceuticals. To get a 9 or a 10 on that scale, a study must feature double blinding.
Right.
That means neither the patient nor the doctor knows who is getting the real medicine and who is getting a fake sugar pill.
Because the placebo effect is so strong, obviously.
Yes. But how do you create a placebo for an 85 hertz electrical pulse?
Yeah.
You cannot secretly electrocute someone's muscles into a tetanic contraction without them noticing.
Oh. Right, you can't blind a muscle spasm. If the suit turns on, the athlete definitely knows they're in the active test group.
Exactly. The scale penalizes the studies for lacking a placebo group, but a true placebo is physically impossible in this context.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
So in the realm of physical intervention studies, an 8 out of 10 on the PEDro scale is functionally a perfect score. The methodology is incredibly rigorous. It's just being judged by a rubric built for pills, not electrical pulses.
Okay, well that makes perfect sense. The science is solid, the safety profile checks out, and we understand the mechanism of targeting fast-twitch fibers. But a great systematic review also points out the dark spots on the map, the things we still don't know, which sets the stage for future discoveries.
Yes, and the dark spots here are really fascinating, especially regarding recovery. WB-EMS is heavily marketed commercially as a recovery tool.
Yeah, you see that everywhere.
But the review found only 4 rigorous studies that actually looked at regeneration. And even more surprising, only 1 study investigated using WB-EMS as a warm-up protocol.
Wait, really? Just one? That feels like a massive missed opportunity. I mean, a 15-minute warm-up that perfectly recruits fast-twitch fibers without tiring out the joints sounds like a coach's dream.
It really does.
I also noticed a huge gap regarding injury prevention.
Yeah, there is a conspicuous absence of longitudinal data. If we know this technology spares the joints while building explosive strength around them, it theoretically should be a phenomenal tool for preventing sports injuries over a long, punishing season.
Totally.
But tracking injury rates requires massive, multi-year studies with huge rosters of athletes, and that long-term tracking simply isn't in the literature yet.
The paper is impressively honest about that. It clearly states it isn't crowning EMS as some kind of magic bullet, but it absolutely validates it as a proven, mapped field of sports science. So let's bring this all together. So what does this all mean? For our listener, let's call them the ultimate learner, who is looking to optimize their own routine, maybe balancing a busy career, exercising a few days a week, and dealing with the typical joint aches of getting older, what is the core practical takeaway from all this data?
The core takeaway is how you apply this tool to your own routine, because knowledge is most valuable when applied. WB-EMS is highly customizable and incredibly time efficient. If you're struggling with joint pain from heavy lifting, or you simply don't have 2 hours a day to spend in the gym, this technology offers a way to build explosive power and preserve your joint health in just 20 minutes. But, and this is where critical thinking is essential, it's a supplement, not a replacement.
So it gives you the raw horsepower, but you still have to build the coordination.
Exactly. The suit will recruit your fast-twitch fibers, but it cannot teach your brain how to swing a golf club or perfectly time a basketball jump shot.
Right.
You still have to do the hard, voluntary work of skill acquisition. Use the technology to build the muscular engine, but never stop practicing the actual sport.
You have to build the engine, but you still have to learn how to drive.
Beautifully said.
And that actually leads me to a really provocative thought to leave our listeners with today. We talked about how there's currently only one study testing WB-EMS as a warm-up, but we know it safely forces maximum muscle recruitment with zero joint strain.
Yeah.
If we project this science 10 years into the future, could we see professional sports completely abandon the traditional warm-up?
Oh, wow.
Imagine a locker room before the Super Bowl. Instead of players out on the field jogging and doing dynamic stretching for an hour, burning precious energy, they just sit in the locker room, run a precise 15-minute electrical pulse sequence to trick their nervous systems into being perfectly primed, and walk out onto the field at maximum explosive capacity before they've even broken a sweat.
You know, when you look at how tightly professional teams manage athlete energy and joint load today, that kind of targeted high-tech neurological priming might just be the inevitable future of sports performance.
It's definitely something to mull over the next time you see athletes warming up on television. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Make sure to follow Health Research Digest on Facebook for more health research papers that we reveal.